Hello, friends. Welcome back to Living on the Verge, where we pay attention to real life, the messy parts, the fun parts, and what they may all be trying to teach us. And this week, it's been a relatively quiet week around here. And I mean that in a good way. I've gone to the gym. I had a really great massage yesterday. I'll tell you about it. I had a mani-pedi, and I think I may have found my new home for manicures and pedicures. I met a lovely woman with what sounds like an incredible life story. I've been searching for something special to wear for my birthday too, and I've also shown tremendous restraint by putting far too many things from the Lilly Pulitzer sale in my cart, but not actually buying them. Yet. I'm what I'd like to call marinating. We also need to discuss whether I have been expecting one pair of tennis shoes to perform far too many jobs. Why Rebecca from 90 Day The Last Resort may need anger management, and how Love Island managed to end just as I was finally deciding that this season wasn't all that bad. So, we have plenty to catch up on. Let's start with life on the verge. Like I said, it's been pretty quiet. I've been to the gym. I've had some great workouts. I had a great massage yesterday. And, I'd like to take a minute to just shout out my massage therapist, Des. I am just so happy that I found her. She knows exactly what I need. I go in there, I tell her what's going on, what I've been doing at the gym, and I walk out of there just feeling relaxed and happy and ready to kind of tackle the day. And so thanks, Des. And then I got a manicure and a pedicure, you guys. And I've been going to the same place for years, but I think I may have found the technician that is going to be my go-to going forward. So thank you, Megan, for the great mani-pedi today. I really enjoyed it. And honestly, I can't wait to go back. It's been a stretch of kind of trying to tend to myself without turning self-care into another project. Because you know me, everything that I do, I need a spreadsheet and a deadline and a measurable outcome. So I've been trying to kind of get outside of that way of thinking. Sometimes taking care of yourself is a big spa day or an exciting getaway. And sometimes it's simply moving your body or getting the knots worked out or taking care of your hands and feet and giving yourself a little room to just breathe. And while I was getting my mani-pedi, I met the loveliest woman. And you start talking about nail color, and next thing you know, she is telling me that she is beginning a completely new chapter of her life after 40 years of marriage. And she gave me a little more insight. Listen, I don't know her entire story, and it certainly wasn't the place for me to ask her to give me any intimate details. And I'm not immediately trying to turn our conversation into anything, but I could just tell that she has a story. And so I gave her my card, and we had a really lovely conversation for the rest of the time I was there. And I walked away thinking about how much can be happening inside the life of a person that's sitting right beside us. You look over and you see she's getting her nails done, and it's an ordinary Wednesday or Thursday without any idea that this person sitting next to you, this nice lady that I met, she's standing at the beginning of an entirely new life. And sometimes people cross our paths for a reason, and sometimes it's simply a nice conversation between two women getting their nails done. And I don't know which one this was yet. I just know I was very glad to meet her. Now, there's something else on my mind this week, and it is finding something to wear for my birthday. I have a lot of clothes. I have a lot of lovely dresses, but it's a special birthday. I want a special dress. So I'm going to Under the Willow in Old Town Temecula, and I'm excited about doing that. I don't want this to feel like a chore. I want to enjoy it. I don't want it to feel like some emergency mission to locate a dress. I want to enjoy looking. And there's still a little wonder in walking into a boutique as opposed to a department store. So I want to start there with my search, and I'm hoping I'll find something perfect to wear. And maybe it'll be exactly what I need, something that I would have never chosen from a website, or maybe it's hanging on the rack and it doesn't look like much until I put it on. And then I walk out of the fitting room and I immediately know this is the dress. Because let's talk a little bit about shopping. At this point in my life, I have requirements. First, the fit has to be great. And I don't want to spend the entire evening pulling something up or tugging something down or adjusting a strap or trying to disguise something or wondering if everybody can see that thing I'm worried it is that they can see. You know what I'm talking about. I want to put it on and then forget about it. Okay? That's number one. Number two, it has to be comfortable. I'm no longer interested in spending an entire evening unable to sit down. You guys, I've never really been that girl anyway, but when you can't breathe or you can't eat because the dress looked good when you got there, but 7 minutes in, it's not so bueno. And third, it is July in Southern California. It's hot. I don't need a dress to be gorgeous, but then it causes me to melt before I even get through the appetizer. I really want to make sure that I account for the weather. And of course, it needs to be flattering. It needs to make me happy. And most importantly, I want to feel pretty in it. Not appropriate for my age, not practical enough to justify the purchase, not just something that'll do. Pretty. I want to look in the mirror and I want to feel happy about that woman that's looking back at me. And if the dress has pockets, bonus. I don't even really know what I'll be putting in the pockets. I'll probably still carry a purse. That's just what I do. But you all know that we women love a dress with pockets. The moment someone compliments it, don't you immediately find yourself putting both hands in your pockets and announcing, and it has pockets too. So I'm going to go look. I'm going to enjoy the process. And I'm going to see what finds me. And of course, I'll tell you all about it. Meanwhile, Lilly Pulitzer is having a sale. Now, full disclosure, I have somewhat of a complicated relationship with Lilly Pulitzer. And I don't want to offend my many friends who love Lilly because guess what, you guys? I now love Lilly too. Some of my friends look absolutely beautiful in the Lilly pieces that they have. But for me, certain Lilly pieces can feel a little old. There, I said it. It's very floral, very bright. Sometimes it could be a lot of a look. But, and it's not inexpensive. But here's the other side of my love-hate relationship with Lilly. They make really good quality clothes. And when I look beyond some of those prints that aren't quite me, I have found some beautiful pieces. I think I own 3 or 4 now. And Honestly, some of the dressier things that would be perfect for the cruise dinners that we have coming up are on sale. And they're beautiful, they're colorful, they're polished, they're easy to pack, and they're a little more special than just a dress I would wear to dinner when we're back home or an evening out at the winery. So I went onto the sale and oh gosh, okay, I admit it. I found quite a few things, perhaps too many things. Okay, admittedly, too many things. And I even revised the cart and I got to the point of checking out, but I did not check out. We all do this too, right? They're sitting there in my cart and I'm marinating. I'm marinating. I consider this restraint with a loophole. Technically, think about this. I have not spent the money emotionally. I may already own half the cart, but that's a whole other thing. So here's the way I'm going to do this one. I'm going to go look at the dresses, and then I'm going to come back and look at the Lilly cart with fresh eyes. And I'm going to ask important questions, such as, do I actually love this? Will I really wear it? Is this going on a cruise with me, or have I created just this imaginary cruise dinner just so I could buy this dress? And is it pretty, or is it simply on sale? Because, girl math, all the things, those things are not always the same thing. And the dress isn't the only thing I will be looking for on my shopping adventure. I also need new tennis shoes. Yes, sneakers. I started this search thinking I needed one new pair, but then I began wondering whether the shoe I wear for my walks should be the same shoe I wear at the gym. And is that the same shoe I should take for traveling and sightseeing when I could be walking all day and be on cobblestones and uneven surfaces? And then I read that some traditional walking shoes may not be the best choice for uneven surfaces or gravel or cobblestones or long travel days. And suddenly, buying a pair of tennis shoes became a complete footwear needs assessment. And as is in my nature, I did some research. And so, friends, here's what I have learned. For regular walks on pavement, I want a comfortable, cushioned, and supportive walking or running shoe. And that same shoe can probably work for things like airports and long days of like city sightseeing. And there are some provisos. It needs to fit well and it needs to remain comfortable as my feet swell throughout the day, because apparently this is a thing I just learned as well. And for the gym, especially strength training, I may want something a little firmer, flatter, and more stable. Apparently, a heavily cushioned walking shoe is designed for moving forward, while a training shoe is designed to provide you with a steadier base and kind of handle more of the side-to-side movement. And a quick aside, it answered the question for me once and for all why I tend to trip in the gym, especially when I'm wearing the Hokas. Well, it's the big cushioning. They're not necessarily designed to be doing that kind of work. Anyway, and if I'm going to be walking on trails or gravel or genuinely uneven terrain like pebble stones in Europe, oh, one could only wish. I'll be back. That apparently might require a third category, a light hiking shoe or a trail shoe with more traction and more stability. So, My takeaway is no, I don't necessarily need 3 new pairs. You're welcome, honey. But I may need to stop expecting one shoe to excel at every activity that I do. And I mentioned my Hokas. Let's go back to the Hokas for a minute. There's a story. At BravoCon in 2023, Emily Simpson, Real Housewives of Orange County, at the time one of my favorite housewives, signed my brand new Hokas. She had started her health and wellness journey, and we had some other commonalities, like we share a wedding anniversary, and I was just so excited. I got to talk to her. I asked her a little bit about her health and wellness journey. She spent some time with me, and she signed my Hokas. Shane let me cut in line, go off to the side, and she literally said, I can't believe that you want your Hokas signed. Anyway, I came home, I joined the gym, and I wore those shoes for inspiration. There was just something about putting on the shoes that Emily had signed. She had the same pair, and taking them with me to the gym. They kind of represented the decision I had made. I was going to show up. I knew she was showing up. I was going to get stronger. I was going to take better care of myself. And you know what? I haven't looked back. That was 2023, and that is the beautiful part of the story. The less beautiful part is that apparently I'm still wearing the shoes. So again, math. She signed them in 2023. We're now halfway through 2026. At some point, inspiration also needs arch support and not to fall over as you're going from side to side at the gym. And then I have a pair of On Clouds. I bought those in Europe, for Europe in June of 2025. And those are still in the rotation too. So, as it turns out, the general recommendation for performance athletic shoes is replacement after approximately 300 to 500 miles. If you don't track mileage, and I haven't maintained tennis shoe mileage, I keep track of when I walk, but if you don't do that, then you look for other signs. Things like worn or smooth tread or uneven wear. We all kind of have tells with our feet, or cushioning that feels flat, or new aches. That was the one that got me. All of a sudden, things that weren't hurting before started hurting after my walks. Or a shoe that bends and twists much more easily than it used to. And all of that led me to finally accept that between the Hokas from 2023 and the On Clouds from 2025, I believe all evidence is suggesting that I've gotten my money's worth out of these. A moment for the Emily shoes. They serve their purpose. They inspired me to join the gym and keep going, and I haven't stopped since then. But perhaps now I can turn them into memorabilia instead of using them for my workouts and expecting them to be my load-bearing equipment. Anyway, let's move on to reality on the Verge. Let's get into what I have been watching, because you guys, Rebecca on 90 Day The Last Resort has been testing me. Who's watching? This girl, she has some anger management issues. Now, listen, I understand that she and Zied have real problems. I get it. And I understand that there are cultural differences, unmet expectations. Apparently there's jealousy, clearly communication problems, and they've been together for a minute now. So there's years of frustration between them, right? And when Zied said he wanted her to be a real wife, That would have pissed me off too. So I understood why she was furious, but you got to take into account the language barrier. Anyway, he was talking about cooking, cleaning, and the traditional role he expected a wife to perform. Meanwhile, Rebecca says she works extremely long hours, pays the bills, and no longer enjoys cooking for him because he doesn't like American food anyway. So I am not completely dismissing Rebecca's feelings. Save your comments if that's where you think I'm going with this. I'm not saying she doesn't have anything to be angry about, but I'm saying she seems to arrive at every conversation already at 10, and the second anybody says anything to her, she goes from 10 to 100 in 1.1 seconds. There is no runway. There's no gradual escalation. The plane is already up in the air. And when you begin every single conversation at maximum anger, the other person stops hearing what you're actually saying. Even if you have a legitimate point. So, I don't know. The way I see it, there's a difference between being assertive and being aggressive. And there's a difference between standing up for yourself and walking into every conversation ready for combat. And, you know, if Rebecca wants Zied to understand that she feels unsupported and unappreciated and insecure in their marriage, those feelings matter. But her approach matters too. And so when every discussion begins with accusation and anger and defensiveness, how do you ever reach the vulnerable underneath it all? And I'm not letting Zied off the hook. He is not innocent here. Telling the woman who apparently works enough to support the household, and apparently he rides around in a Mercedes, etc., that you would like her to be a, quote, real wife, end quote, because she doesn't cook enough. Dude, not really working on your conflict resolution skills with that one. So their argument on the surface seems to be about chores, but it's really about expectations, right? He has an idea of what a wife should do. She has an idea of what an equal partner should do. And neither one of them, aside from the fact that they're not communicating, feels the other is fulfilling the role they expected. And the surprising part is they are still together. They're still together. They've been together for a long time. So apparently these two have continued choosing marriage. But I still think anger management, or at least learning how to have a conversation without constantly being in fight mode, with all due respect, needs to be part of Rebecca's plan. Okay. Now let's move on over to Love Island, USA. Early in the season, I kept asking, is season 8 good or bad? I remember I commented on it here on the podcast, and I was like, I think I've aged out, y'all. Well, as it turns out, a girl can reserve the right to change her mind. And my final answer is that season 8 may have been better than season 7. Now, stick with me on this. I was invested through no fault of my own. Okay, it was all my fault. I had couples I liked. I had people I absolutely did not want to win. I was yelling at the television at one point when Islanders were making decisions I disagreed with. And when the couples voted and Corbin and Parmita received only one vote to stay, no. Absolutely not. I just wasn't ready for Corbin and Parmita to leave. Now listen, think and say what you will about them, and I had my opinions too, but I thought they were good for the show. I thought they deserved more time, and I did not agree with the decision to get rid of them at that point. I really felt like they deserved a part in the Final Four. Now, having said that, if you've gotten as far as the Final Four, it wasn't a bad Final Four. So, the good news is that these two still currently appear to be continuing their relationship outside of the villa. Corbin has been posting affectionately about her, and although they're already dealing with questions about how well they may have known each other before the show, and a tense conversation shown after their departure, we'll see. Either way, they're still together, but apparently for these two, real life arrived real quick. And then, in answer to my husband's prayers, and just like that, Love Island was over. It felt like I'd finally settled into the season and learned everyone's names and decided who I liked and who I didn't, and suddenly, boom, here we were at the finale. And so here comes a spoiler warning. I'm about to announce the winners of Love Island USA Season 8. If you have not watched the finale and do not want to know who won, click ahead a couple of minutes and join me at the next segment. Okay? All right. Here I go. Trinity and Bryce. Trinity and Bryce won. They were not my personal first choice, but I really did like them a lot, and I'm okay with the result. My vote, even though I didn't actually get my vote in time, I didn't watch in time, would have gone to Anaya and Carl. And they came in second, so I was happy about that. I really loved their story. I loved watching them find their way back to each other. There was just really something sweet about their relationship. I love Carl. If I was a mother of girls, I would love for someone to bring a Carl home for my daughter. And honestly, they felt like more of a genuine match to me than some of the other couples. And I'm just going to say it. I'm simply going to say I was happy that Melanie and Sincere did not win this game. They finished third, which in my opinion was high enough. So, as of right now, Trinity and Bryce still together. Trinity has said that she plans to spend time with Bryce in Los Angeles, and they seem very committed to seeing what the relationship can become outside the villa. Anaya and Carl, they also appear to be going strong. They have both posted warmly about one another, and Anaya said she's excited to see how their story continues. Melanie and Sincere were still together when the finale was filmed, but they had barely gotten their phones back when the first updates appeared. So there isn't enough real-time, real-world evidence yet to be able to say much more than that at this moment. And as I mentioned, Corbin and Parmita appear to still be exploring their relationship too. So technically, everybody is still together, but these people have been outside of the villa for approximately 5 minutes. So I'm not issuing any long-term relationship certificates or declarations until after the reunion. And now it's time for Winos on the Verge, my honest take on the wineries, wine bars, and hidden gems I've discovered along the way. Okay, today I don't have a full review for you because the adventure hasn't happened yet. We're doing the Vine Van tour really soon, and I'm so excited about it. To all my friends that are joining me, thank you so much for spending the time. I'll be paying attention to the entire experience, the transportation, the wineries, the vibe, the pacing of the day, the wine, the food, the overall vibe, and whether I think it's something worth booking. Either way, I'm really excited about it. If you've listened for a while, then you know that I won this tour that we're going on last year on an Instagram contest from Temecula Passport. So shout out to Temecula Passport. Thank you for making this happen. And shout out to Vine Van Tour. Thank you so much, Brian. I can't wait for this weekend. And you're going to have to wait just a little bit for the full review because I've decided I'm taking a little time off. I'm turning 60. And instead of trying to celebrate, record, edit, publish all at the same time, I decided I'm going to give myself some room to enjoy it all. But I'm not going to leave your feed empty. First, I'm bringing back episode 100, the first 100 and what comes next. For me, it feels like the perfect episode to revisit as I turn 60 because it's about evolution, how the podcast has changed as I changed, what I learned during the first 100 episodes, and what I wanted to carry forward. And then I'm also thinking I'm going to replay episode 41 from the summer series in Europe last year. Menorca, Mahone, Cagliari, Sardinia, and Cruise Fellowship. This episode has travel, wine, food, and one of my favorite things, connection. And to me, this episode is exactly the kind of celebratory energy that I want in the feed while I'm away. So I hope you enjoy the rewinds, and I'll be back soon. I appreciate all the birthday wishes. And you guys, that's it. That's where life is right now. It has been quiet, but there's still been plenty tucked inside. Showing up at the gym, a great massage, a mani-pedi that led to an unexpected conversation with the woman beginning a new chapter, the possibility of finding a dress that makes me feel beautiful, a Lilly Pulitzer cart currently waiting to see if I'm going to come to my senses, and a pair of signed Hokas that may finally have earned their retirement. The Vine Van Tour is coming up, and so is my 60th birthday, and for once, I don't want to experience a meaningful stretch of life while simultaneously trying to package it. I think that is part of what all of this has taught me. I want to be in it. I want to enjoy the wine tour. I want to enjoy my birthday. I want to enjoy the dinner with friends, time with my family, whatever else unfolds. And then, when it's all said and done, then I'll come back and I'll tell you what was fun, what surprised me, what I wore, what I drank, whether the Vine Van Tour lived up to expectations, and even whether I ever checked out of that Lilly Pulitzer cart. And so, thank you for spending time with me as always. Until then, enjoy the 2 episodes I chose for you from the Virg Vault. You guys, I'll be back after a little time away, rested, officially 60, and ready to catch up. And as always, and until then, I will be right here, living on the verge.